This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president and CEO of Capella Minerals, Mr. Eric Roth. Eric, you are new to our audience. It is a pleasure to have you on. How are you today, sir?
Yeah, hi, Gerardo, and thanks very much for the introduction, and great to be with you today. Wonderful.
Well, listen, you picked a heck of a time, right? You couldn't have scripted it any better. We have record high gold prices sitting at $5,300. We have silver that's sitting at $113 an ounce. We have copper that's flirting with $6 once again. And look, I just got back from the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference from Vancouver, from Roundup, from MIF, and the turnout was unlike anything I've ever seen before. It was upbeat, optimistic, a lot of people feeling really intelligent. But I really am glad to have you on because Capella is at the stage where I like to introduce companies. Low, tiny market cap, well-funded, catalyst all year, drill bit driven catalyst. And again, amidst the backdrop of record high metals prices. So for those not familiar with your background, can you talk a bit about your background, just to introduce you to the audience here?
Yeah, sure thing. And look, I'm a geologist by training, but I have been in the business for 35 plus years. So, and I guess people who have followed us over the years, Gerardo, would have noticed all of the exploration successes, the greenfield successes we've had over the years. So, so we've been involved in quite a few world-class discoveries over the past few years. And I mean, here I go back sort of the last 10, 20 and beyond years. So we've had a lot of success. Some of your listeners may be familiar with Mariana Resources. We had the Hot Martin discovery in northeastern Turkey, which we sold to Sandstorm in 2017, and that was that today is basically a mine that's being built. But previously, before that, and I should also mention too, we've had a lot of success specifically in the precious metals and base metal space. So that's sort of what we do well, and that's what we plan to do well here with Capella. So, so Hot Martin with Mariana was one of our big successes. Again, that was a brand new discovery. Before that, we had Extori Gold Mines, which had a high-grade gold-silver discovery in Argentina, in Santa Cruz, which was bought by Yamana. And then before that, when you go before that, even, you know, there's a very long list of discoveries that we've been directly involved in. So I think one of the key things is we know what needs to be done and we know how to do it. And I guess that's the key thing in terms of what we'll talk about here with Capella going forward.
No, listen, Hot Martin was just a beauty of a project, right? Just for context there, can you share with the fine folks, if you recall, what that was sold for?
Yeah, so we sold that for almost 200 million. So, but remembering we only had a minority position in that project. So unfortunately, when we started drilling that project, Gerardo, that was 2013. So it was on the back of the last boom, I guess, if you like. And 2013, 2014, there wasn't a lot of appetite in Canada for exploration projects. So we ended up doing a deal with a Turkish partner who took a 70% interest. We kept 30%. But we had the right idea, it was the right project, and obviously, you know, it's a very high-grade copper-gold resource, unlike any that, you know, I've ever seen in my career. And indeed, it certainly set the bar pretty high in terms of both size and grade. So, you know, it's kind of hard to, as I say, you know, when you set the bar that high, it really becomes, it's quite exceptional.
No, look, anytime you discover $1 billion project, right, that's a heck of a thing to have on the resume, which brings me back to my original point. I love introducing stories early on. It's getting harder in this market to find value, right? And I'm preaching to subscribers of the couple of services that I write over on the newsletter side to be really selective. It's easy to confuse, as Rick Rule likes to say, a bull market for brains, right? And I think right now you have to be selective. On that point, what's Capella's market cap right now, roughly?
Yeah, so Gerardo, so our market cap at the moment is about 9 million, but even that's higher than it was a few months ago. So, but I think one of the key things is just to remember about the portfolio is that, as I say, it is focused on precious and base metals. I'll talk about it in a bit more detail in a moment. But really the key thing is we've had a lot of success through the years. We've got a very good eye for picking up greenfields opportunities. And maybe just to sort of the part that we have, our business model, I guess the way that we've operated in the past has always been look for early stage assets that have potential for high grade discoveries. We like high grade, just to make a point of that, because for two reasons. One is obviously, you know, that's obviously really important from a cash flow perspective once you're in production. but also they tend to be the assets that we could take through to production if we had to, right? So, but our sweet spot, I guess, if you like, is really that discovery, getting the resources, doing those initial scoping level studies, pre-feasibility studies, and what's happened in the past is that's precisely the point at which we've been taken out by other companies. So, so we look for assets that are high grade. They could be built with relatively low capex. They generate good cash flow, really quick paybacks, and that's what we sort of specialize in. And that'll lead us onto the discussion on the Capella portfolio, which is why we picked up the projects that we have.
Let's talk about that portfolio because, again, for a $9 million market cap and the expertise that you and the team brings, I think it's an absolute bargain, especially in this market. Tell me about the portfolio.
Yeah, and I should also mention too, Gerardo, that's 9 million Canadian. So in real dollars, I guess it's a lot less than that. But look, I think in terms of the portfolio as it currently stands, as I mentioned, we do specialize in precious and base metals. That's what we've had lots of success in over the years. So we'll stick to a winning formula. The projects that we currently have, we have some gold and copper assets in the central Lapland greenstone belt of northern Finland. For people who have been following us, we are actually drilling the first of those as we speak. It was an old Anglo-American target they generated about 15 years ago. Very high copper and gold numbers in the geochemistry. We did some follow-up work and have some great targets on it. And this is the very, very first drill program on it. And we have kicked that off. So that's looking pretty good at this point. Then we also have some high-grade massive sulfide. These are copper, cobalt, zinc projects in Norway, and they will be drilled in the middle of the year. So we're just we had some drill permits that expired late last year. We're just getting them renewed for this year. So the idea is once we finish drilling in Finland, we'll move on to drilling in Norway. And I should also mention too, that the drilling that's happening in Finland and the drilling that's happening in Norway is fully funded by our JV partner, TUMAD. So basically their commitment this year is to drill a minimum of 12,000 meters on those two projects. So the good news for us is that we can really move these projects forward, but it's basically together with TUMAD. And then the third project, of course, is the recently announced Solana. That's an iron oxide copper gold project in southern Spain. It's a project that I've actually had my eye on for quite a few years. It's not in the traditional mining belts. It's a completely new concept. And it's an old mining district that stopped production about 100 years ago, was kind of left there since. They haven't done much on it since then, and really great opportunities there for both discoveries in high-grade veins. But what we're primarily looking for is the big system below that was driving this thing, and that could be something that could be of interest to a major as well. So we've got lots happening this year in terms of particularly in the copper or base metal and precious metal space.
That's a lot of catalyst, drill bit driven catalyst. I want to just dig a little bit more into Solana because the signature there is massive, right? You talk about a cumulative strike extent exceeding 50 kilometers that has been mapped to date. Can you speak about how you prioritize the drill bit, right? How do you delineate a system that has such a big signature?
Yeah, so of course what we'll do, Gerardo, is so as I mentioned, there's two target types. One is these high-grade veins, which are really extensive. I've actually never seen anything like that, especially when these aren't quartz veins with the copper and gold. They're actually iron oxide veins, and really when you look at that system, it's a district scale project that hasn't had any serious work done on it. And as I say, what we will do is we'll start around the old mines, of course. Best place to find ore is where you know you had ore. But of course, what we will be doing is testing a lot of those veins. But as I mentioned, for us, the big thing is let's get out there quickly. We can do some very quick geophysics to identify some of the deeper targets, which I think were the source for these veins, because these veins had to come from somewhere, and there's a lot of them. It really is an impressive system when you look at just the scale of it. And also about 10, 15 kilometers to the west of the project, there's an iron ore mine called Alkifir. So when you look at the bigger scale picture, it really is an incredible system. I mean, we're really this is just phenomenal to have an opportunity where we can pick up the ground and we're the only people there because no one's recognized it previously.
So you're drilling, and then you're drilling some more is what it sounds like in 2026.
That's exactly what the news flow is going to be. So first we'll have the finished project that we will get done here in Q1 up until middle of the year. Then middle of the year we have the Norwegian drilling, and then of course the end of the year Solana. And Solana, as I mentioned, we will be able to drill, once we've done this initial geophysical work here at the beginning of the year, that should be end of year drilling. So we do expect to have drill news flow throughout the entire year, which is obviously what really excites us. And, obviously the drilling is the exciting part of the story here, the discovery part of the story.
Eric, I think your timing is impeccable. It's a beautiful, beautiful time to introduce the story to our audience. Thank you so much for your time. And look, I'm looking forward to having you back on as we start getting those assays coming in.
Yeah, likewise, Gerardo, and I look forward to keeping everybody updated as we go forward. I think this really will be an exciting year for Capella.
Appreciate the time, sir. Thank you again. Go enjoy those record high metals prices.
Okay, thanks, Gerardo. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.